Number 10. Helena Wayne, Earth 2. Before there was Helena Wayne of Earth 2, there was Helena Wayne of Earth 2. Are you confused yet? Are you watching this with subtitles? This version of Helena Wayne was the first child of Catwoman and Batman from Earth 2. The original Earth 2. Cause yeah, there's two Earth 2s. Look, I don't know what to tell you, it's DC, it's confusing. The original Earth 2 that this Helena Wayne is from was one of the worlds destroyed during Crisis on Infinite Earths. We later would see Earth 2 brought back, but of course slightly different, and technically in a different continuity. But on this Earth 2 that we're talking about, Helena's mother died in a tragic accident when she was blackmailed into returning to a life of crime. This is in part what actually inspired Helena Wayne to fight crime herself, taking up the name Huntress and avenging her mother's death. She tracked down the man responsible and learned that the photo that he had used to blackmail her mother was actually a fake. It showed her mother killing a cop, but in truth, Catwoman had never done such a thing during her time as Catwoman. Huntress in this version of Earth 2 is known for being a skilled fighter, martial artist, and archer. She typically fights with batarangs or a crossbow. Number 9. Helena Wayne, Earth 2. This alternate version of Helena hails from the same reality as Power Girl, who is also her best friend. Helena on Earth 2 is the daughter of Catwoman and Batman. And to be clear, this is the Earth 2 that came after the previous Earth 2 that we just talked about. I hope everyone's following this. I hope you're following this. I wish I had drawn like a diagram for everyone. There's this Earth 2 and there's this Earth 2. Helena here initially fought alongside her father as his Robin. However, she ended up leaving her world in what she thought was the pursuit of Darkseid after her father was killed during a Parademon's attack. Helena had tried to save her dad but was unable to as the tower that he was in exploded, killing him. This version of Helena would spend a lot more time on Prime Earth with Power Girl, who took the name Karen Starr. The two would split up for a while but inevitably rejoin forces and find a way back to their Earth, their home. Back on Earth 2, Helena would take up her father's mantle, eventually becoming the new Batman. And if you're wondering, wait, no, do you mean Batwoman? Did you say that wrong? No, I mean Batman. That is the name that she takes. Batman, just like her dad. Being trained by Batman, Helena has a bunch of skills as his and Catwoman's daughter. She's especially well known for her skills with a crossbow, as an investigator, her stealth, and her fighting prowess. Before becoming Batman while living on Prime Earth, Helena went by the hero name Huntress. All the Helena Waynes, all the Huntresses, all the Bat babies. Bat baby. Number 8. Terry McGinnis. Terry is basically Batman in the future. He not only has Batman's genes, but was trained by the old man himself, and he also has future tech to aid him in his missions as well. You might not think of Terry McGinnis as Batman's son, considering, well, he has two other parents who raised him and brought him into the world. But Terry is also genetically related to Batman. Amanda Waller helped to create Terry into the man that he is today. She manipulated his father's DNA to make sure that when Terry was conceived, his genes would actually match Batman's, aka Bruce Wayne's. This all happened as part of Project Batman Beyond, which was all about building a new Batman to replace the former. Waller also almost had his parents assassinated to help give Terry motivation to become a hero, but Andrea Beaumont's Phantasm, who she hired to do that job, ended up refusing to go through with it. But don't worry, he still becomes Batman anyways. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any skills for me to talk about, I guess. Could you imagine if I just had like most powerful children of Batman and they were all like accountants or something? And I was like, this is a better accountant than the other one. Number 7. Tim Drake. Tim Drake is known for being probably one of the smartest children of Batman around. Although Tim had parents in the original continuity of New Earth, he was adopted by Bruce Wayne. So at least then and there he was considered an adoptive son. In the current continuity, his backstory hasn't become quite as tragic as the former, and I believe his parents are still alive in that reality. Although I think he's still considered Batman's adopted son there too. So he has parents, but he's also adopted? I don't know. While Tim might not be the best marksman or fighter of the bunch of Bat kids, he is definitely the most intelligent and best detective when it comes to living up to Batman's legacy. Does this make him the most powerful? I don't know, it can depend on the mission that he's got, I guess. I would argue that smarts is actually one of the most powerful things or skills you can possess when it comes to heroics, but many others often measure power in how hard you can hit. So even though I kinda wanna put Tim Drake higher on this list, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be like, but he's not the biggest muscles. Which is fine if that's how you measure power, but how do you measure power? I mean, there's lots of ways to measure it. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Number 6. Helena Wayne, Last Rites Batman/Catwoman. I promise this is the last Helena on this list, although honestly I really do love a lot of what they do with all the Helena Waynes. I love Helena Wayne as a character and I wish I wish that she was part of the main continuity. Let Batman and Catwoman be together and let them give us a Helena Wayne. This is probably my favorite version of Helena thus far. She is the one that appears as the daughter of Catwoman and Batman in Last Rites and Tom King's Batman/Catwoman series. This version of Helena is really just, I think, a little bit of an improvement of the redo that we saw with her character from New 52's Earth 2. She also has the investigative skills of her mother and father and is a skilled fighter and acrobat. Helena Wayne here goes on to become Batwoman in honor of both of her parents. Also, if you're wondering how Kate Kane feels about that, because you know, that's kind of her mantle, I'm not sure what she's up to in this reality, or if she exists. If you know more about Kate Kane here, please share with me in the comments. I'd love to learn more. I tried to do some research on that and I was like, I can't find anything, so I'm assuming Kate Kane is like, I feel nothing because I'm not here. Bye. Number 5. Damian Wayne. Probably one of the most powerful semi-natural born kids around, and definitely one of the most dangerous, is Damian Wayne. Damian is the son of Batman and sometimes villain, sometimes ally, Talia al Ghul. Depending on which story you were going with, his conception was pretty controversial, as it has been implied and interpreted mainly that Talia forced herself on Bruce in order to get pregnant with Damian. Damian also was only a semi-naturally born kid because he did not gestate in a womb, but instead was kind of like grown in a tube. He was raised initially by his mother, who then dropped him on Bruce's doorstep when he was around, I think, 8 or 10. Initially, he and his father didn't get along too great, partly because of Damian's spoiled attitude and partly because, despite still being a kid, he was already a murderous, deadly assassin that had been raised mainly by the League of Assassins. So, you know, that's gonna be a problem. Especially as, you know, Batman has a moral code and Damian initially didn't really have much of a moral code. He was like, what's wrong? I can just decapitate people, that's fine. Why is it a big deal? They're bad guys. Number 4. Jason Todd. Everyone's favorite son of the Bat has got to be Jason Todd, or at least a lot of people's favorite son of the Bat. If that's not you, that's okay, but I know there's a lot of Jason Todd fans out there, so like, show yourselves. I see you. Well, Jason Todd has come a long way since he was first introduced in the comics, back when we knew him by the nickname Jason J. Todd. When he originally appeared in issue 357 of Batman, his backstory was actually very similar to former Robin Dick Grayson. Of course, his backstory would be redone and it wouldn't be this anymore, but initially, in the New Earth continuity, Jason Todd was introduced as an orphan whose parents were both originally acrobats who had died. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Like Dick Grayson before him, Jason was taken in by Bruce Wayne and trained to become his new Robin. Bruce even seemingly adopts Jason in this version of the story, making him one of the Batman's adopted kids. And I think even in Prime Earth continuity we consider him an adopted kid, although I don't know if he's formally been adopted. Jason Todd now, however, has more of a challenging relationship with Bruce Wayne in the current Prime Earth continuity, due to the fact that he has no problem killing villains when needed, and often uses lethal force and firearms against them when he fights. Jason Todd is known for being one of the most gifted and brutal fighters in the DC universe. But Jason's not just a bruiser, he's also got a sharp mind as well, and perhaps even a bit of a magical power set since being revived in the Lazarus pits. There was also, I think, for a time we considered him to be immortal because of that, but I don't think that's a thing anymore. For those that want to be like, he's immortal! I don't know if that's true anymore, but it was a thing at one point that was implied. Number 3. Nightwing. While Dick Grayson is not born of Batman, he spent a good amount of time being raised by him and is actually an officially adopted child of Bruce Wayne's. After years of Dick being like an adopted son to Bruce decided to actually fill out the paperwork and finally make it official. So yeah, there's actually paperwork for this one, friends. Nightwing is one of the most powerful Robins, Bat family members, and sons of Batman around. He is a great all-around kind of powerful. Instead of dominating in one specific field when it comes to Batman's skill set, Nightwing does a great job of excelling sort of in all aspects equally. While some might think that this makes him weaker overall because he's not like a super big powerhouse in one area, I'd argue it makes him stronger overall as a character, as it means he has less weak spots in comparison to some of the other heroes, anti-heroes, and even villains in the multiverse who have trained under Batman. Nightwing is a great detective, fighter, acrobat, and he has a great heart, which is part of the reason he's such an amazing hero. Number 2. Kull. Kull is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Batman from the Dark Multiverse. We don't as of yet know what Dark Earth Kull hailed from, only that she was raised and trained by both her parents before she turned to the dark side, joining the Batman Who Laughs, who in turn served Perpetua. During the Dark Knight's death metal event, Kull ended up in a fight against Wonder Woman, who was amazed by her strength and her skills as a fighter. To read more about Kull and her badass self, you can check out Dark Knight's death metal Trinity Crisis, and I know that the Dark Multiverse is kinda gone, but I do hope we get to learn more about Kull and her backstory. I hope that's like not the only time we get to see her. She just seems like such an interesting character to me, and also I miss the Dark Multiverse. I just want more Dark Multiverse. Please, please. She ranks high on this list because due to her heritage, she possesses an Amazonian physiology like her mother. This means she is not likely someone that you would want to come up against in a fight. And she likely also possesses her father's enhanced intellect and sense of resourcefulness, making her an even more dangerous enemy to face. Also, it's really rare, I think, that Batman and Wonder Woman get together in realities and actually have kids. I feel like that's not usually a thing that happens, so she's a rare one. Number 1. Jarro. Jarro is probably the strongest child of Batman to have ever existed, at least obviously in my mind. When it comes to his potential for power, he could technically conquer the entire Earth if he wanted to. Fortunately, he doesn't want to. Jarro mainly wants to be a good son and become the best Robin ever in his father's eyes. He was grown by Batman from a tissue sample he'd had of Starro the Conqueror. Batman grew and raised Jarro himself, teaching him how to be a good alien starfish and a good hero. Jarro has teamed up with his dad before to help the Justice League, and there's almost nothing that he wouldn't do for Bruce. Due to his unique alien physiology, Jarro has a slew of powers available to him, the main one being telepathy and mind control. He's also heckin' smart, possessing genius level intellect. Plus, he's the cutest. Like, I'm just saying, if we're doing a top 10 cutest children of Batman list, or even the Justice League, cutest children of the Justice League, I think that Jarro would also end up at the top. Like, he's pretty cute. Just putting it out there. Number 10. Van-El. Van-El is the imaginary son of Superman that he is made to believe he had in the Superman Annual from 1985, Annual number 11, from the original Superman series. Superman ends up being put in a trance by a plant that starts to kind of attack him as part of a villainous plot. While he's in this trance, he sees what life would be like if he had remained on Krypton and grew up there. He ends up married and with a son named Van-El and a daughter. We don't see Van-El's abilities when it comes to powers, but he is a Kryptonian with both his mom and his dad being from that planet, which means that on Earth, he would probably be at least at Superman levels. Unfortunately, he is just a dream, and Superman heartbreakingly realizes that this world is false and he must wake up. It's actually a pretty sad issue, to be real. This story is like tragic. Number 9. Sir-El. Sir-El isn't a real child of Superman, although at first we actually thought she was one. Sir-El appeared to be the daughter of Lois Lane and Supes from a distant future. She even looked a lot like both of her parents and demonstrated similar powers, but in the end we learned that she was simply created as part of a plot to deliver the Yes virus, which would help Brainiac take over the world. She was created by combining Kryptonian DNA with a human, grafting the DNA sort of over top of her human self. Originally, she was a human known as Mia, and when she learned of her true origin, she destroyed herself in order to save the world. Sir-El was also implanted with all the memories of her parents and being raised by them, so to her, her life as their daughter had felt very real, despite the fact that we learned she was really a fake. Fake daughters, I feel like, should still count, especially if they have memories of being raised. Number 8. Superwoman. Superwoman is Kara Kent, the daughter of Superman and Lois Lane from the alternate reality of Earth 3839. This is the reality we explore in John Byrne's series Superman and Batman Generations. Here, Kara is seen as having the same level of power as Superman, at least initially. Eventually we learn though that Kara really only possesses half the strength of her dad's powers. Oh dear. This means that although she has worked alongside her dad as his sidekick under the name Supergirl for years, she is no match when her evil brother shows up to destroy her and her wedding. Kara was becoming a hero all her own, taking up the mantle of Superwoman and joining forces with her partner in crime fighting and her partner in romance, Bruce Wayne Jr., Batman's son. The two were married, but Kara's brother, manipulated by Lex Luthor to believe that both his father and Kara had actually taken away the powers that he should have been born with, shows up to the wedding and kills Kara shortly thereafter. Number 7. Supergirl. This is the imaginary daughter of Superman, but she still likely exists in some alternate reality, because technically every imagining is like an alternate reality, if that makes sense. So she exists probably somewhere out in the multiverse other than just Superman's dream, and so I'm gonna count her. Also, the dream featuring her in retrospect to the rest of the universe is like really tragic, so I feel like for that reason alone we should just talk about it, because it's a pretty cool moment in Injustice, because tragic things are cool when they are safely contained in fictional worlds and can make you feel emotions without actually having to deal with the consequences of the tragedies that the emotions come from. Supergirl is Lara Lane Kent, the daughter Lois and Clark would have had in the event that Joker and Harley hadn't made Superman believe Lois was Doomsday and made him kill her. In this very different world, Superman and his daughter, Supergirl, are both still heroes. Her powers are very similar to her father's, and while she isn't quite as experienced as he is, she is still on a similar level when it comes to what she's capable of. Number 6. Carol and Jane Kent. Carol and Jane Kent are the daughters of Superman and Lois from the comic series Superman Secret Identity. We learn of their powers in the final issue, issue number 4, which acts as the conclusion to our tale as Clark moves into his twilight years and his kids mostly take over. Initially, he and Lois weren't sure if they had any powers at all, but many years later they find out that their kids' powers did manifest. It happened to Carol and Jane, their twin daughters, in their teenage years. As adults, they are initially a little less experienced than Clark, but eventually go on to replace him as he leaves more and more of the heroics up to them. By the end of the series, I'd say power level wise they are about at the same place as their dad, or perhaps even a little bit stronger than he was in his prime. Also, Superman Secret Identity is just a really well written story, so if you haven't checked out this miniseries, I highly recommend you go and give it a gander. Also, I can't believe it's from the early 2000s. Like, to me, it feels much more like modern day, like now, not like early 2000s. I mean that as a compliment. Number 5. Supergirl. Seriously, get ready for a list full of Supergirls, cause unsurprisingly, a lot of Superman's kids take up that mantle. This Supergirl is Lara Kent from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Alternate Earth, aka Earth 31. Here, Lara is the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman. She stands out due to her very blue hair. Being a hybrid baby, she ends up inheriting both her parents' powers, making her super powerful and an immensely skilled fighter, having been trained by her mother in the way of the Amazons. One thing that makes her unique as well in comparison to some of the other super kids out there is that she believes her powers make her better than non-powered people, and she actually strives to one day rule over the non-powered people of Earth. A little bit villainous there, Lara. I mean, she's not gonna do it because she's like, I know my dad's like, these people, we gotta protect them. But she's definitely thinking about it. Number 4. Superman. Jonathan Kent is the natural-born son of Lois Lane and Clark Kent, aka Kal-El, Superman, from the main continuity. He was born during the events that caused a reset of the universe when the New 52 basically came about. He and his family were relocated to the New 52 Prime Earth, even though they were originally from New Earth, meaning that for a while we had 2 Supermans on planet Earth, although one was operating in secret, that one being John's dad. John would become good friends with another super son, Damian Wayne, Batman's semi-natural born son. Well, not really. His whole existence is also an interesting story, but enough of that. He's definitely Batman's biological son at least, so we can count that. Damian and John initially didn't get along but would find common ground and then become the best of friends. Of course, then John went to space and grew up rapidly, and currently in the comics, he has also taken up the mantle of Superman after his father, now that he's back on Earth. John's powers are at a very similar scope and level, but as a human Kryptonian hybrid, he apparently does have the potential to become even more powerful than Clark. Hybrid babies are the best babies in terms of superpowers. Number 3. The Golden Child. This version of John Kent comes to us from the alternate Earth of Earth 31. Yep, we're going back to the Dark Knight universe of Frank Miller. In one of his latest Dark Knight universe stories, it was revealed that baby John, who is now a young child here, also born of Superman and Wonder Woman, is actually something completely new when it comes to his power levels. Also, he doesn't have blue hair. No blue hair for John. His sister Lara even suggests that while she agrees with her father about teaching John, that they should soon be prepared to actually learn from him because he's that powerful. At the end of Dark Knight Returns the Golden Child, we see the true extent of John's powers when he takes on Darkseid, calling him basically an old fart the entire time, as he defeats him pretty easily. Darkseid attempts to use his Omega beams only to have young John swallow that power, absorbing it, and then firing it back with his neutron vision vision powers. Totally unique powers. John is also able to protect his sister Lara in the fight, making her intangible somehow before both her and he fade away, seemingly transforming both of them into some type of energy? I think that's what happened. That's kind of a weird comic, but yes, it did happen. Number 2, HYPERMAN. HYPERMAN is the son of Superman and Wonder Woman who comes from the reality belonging to the Kingdom Come story and follow-up story, The Kingdom. In that story, little baby John Kent is kidnapped by Gog. He ends up being rescued by 2 different versions of his parents and his godfather Batman, but ends up with himself in the end, his future self. The hero, HYPERMAN, who also rules and guards over all of Hyper Time. HYPERMAN raises the child himself, so raises himself, continuing the circle and pretty much guaranteeing that John Kent will grow up to become HYPERMAN, a time-traveling, dimension-hopping hero, because I assume that's how HYPERMAN was raised, by himself, and then when that one becomes older he'll have to raise another one. I feel like this is a time loop and it will never end. Number 1, Supergirl. This version of Supergirl is Ariella Kent, the daughter of Linda Danvers' Supergirl and Superman of Earth 1. Yeah, it might sound weird to think that Supergirl and Superman got it on and ended up having a kid together, but remember, this is Linda Danvers' Supergirl. No relation to Supes, and it's also a Superman from another alternate reality because it's Earth 1 Superman, who is therefore even further removed to any kind of relation or affiliation with Linda. Ariella Kent ended up kind of being time or reality displaced due to continuities needing to be altered and set right, but she is still probably out there somewhere in the cosmos, somewhere in the multiverse, although we haven't seen her in the comics for a long time. Ariella was known for her massive power levels, which as a child she had a hard time actually fully comprehending, meaning that wherever she went she generally caused a lot of destruction. Accidentally. This is what happens when you let a super powerful child fly around space and travel through time without any parental supervision. Ariella was also a hybrid baby, being born part Matrix, aka lab-made semi-alien goo, that's basically what the Matrix is, and part Kryptonian. There's gonna be people that are gonna be like, that's not what the Matrix is. I'm like, no, DC Matrix. Look it up. It was a weird thing. But it happened. Number 10, Etta and VICKT Trevor. These two hail from a very dark reality, the alternate Earth and number 34 from the DC multiverse. Here, Wonder Woman's home was invaded by the British military and she ended up being enslaved and taken away when she was young, kidnapped, and brought to London, where she grew up poor on the streets. Eventually, she was taken in by the evil Captain Stephen Trevor of the universe, who paraded her around as an Amazonian oddity, profiting off of her and eventually also marrying her. Because I guess that's what you do when you profit off of someone in London in this evil time. The couple had 2 children together, and while we don't know if they discovered their powers, we can assume they eventually would, as Diana herself did, and use them to oppose an evil king and save those who cannot save themselves, becoming known as the hero Wonder Woman. Number 9, John. John is pretty young still on the alternate world of Earth 31, the Dark Knight Returns reality, but it is still possible he could grow up to be stronger than most on this list. Still, because he's so young is why he's getting ranked so low to start us off. John is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman, and there is a good chance that he will become just as powerful, possibly even more powerful than his sister, who already is known for her strength and abilities in this reality. He's got a lot of potential, basically. Number 8, Wonder Girl. Wonder Girl is Stephanie Trevor, the daughter of Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman from the alternate Earth of 3839. She first appeared in Superman and Batman Generations 2, issue number 1. She was created by John Byrne. I love Byrne, by the way. She was actually born the same year as Superman and Lois Lane had their daughter in this reality, Kara Kent. In the future, she'd go on to take over her mother's mantle of Wonder Woman. Her powers are similar to those of her mother. She has a divine empowerment that gives her godlike agility, strength, and durability due to her Amazonian heritage and due to being Diana's daughter. Number 7, Hunter Prince. Hunter Prince comes to us from Justice League Legacy. Initially, people were not sure who Hunter's father was, with many speculating that it could be Superman or Batman. However, in truth, his dad was less of a man or super and more of a cosmic entity known as the Darkness. It was because of the fear within Diana after her exposure to the Darkness that caused her to conceive Hunter. After being born, Diana entrusted friends Superman and Lois Lane to raise her son, but Hunter would come to believe that Diana had given him up because he was a boy, creating tension between him and her when they met after he traveled back in time. Hunter, like many of Wonder Woman's other children, possesses godlike superhuman abilities due to him being born of an Amazon. But I don't think we consider him an Amazon because he's a guy. I don't know. Maybe Hunter's like the first male Amazon. I like to think of it that way. Number 6, Fury. This daughter of Wonder Woman hails from pre-Crisis Earth 2 and her name is Hippolyta Trevor. Her nickname would become Lita and she would take on the superhero name of Fury. However, this was Lita's story pre-Crisis, and post-Crisis she would have her origins changed completely, with her no longer being the Wonder Woman of Earth 2's daughter, as Wonder Woman of Earth 2 had basically been erased from existence. However, there was a time when she was the daughter of Diana and her love Steve Trevor, and while Fury's character was changed, you can still go back and actually read stories from that previous continuity before the reset happened. Lita was known for her super jumping powers, her super strength, and her godlike agility. She was also a super skilled combatant being trained by her mother. Number 5. Fury. So yeah, there are two Furies. This one is also from Earth 2, but from a later version in continuity, and is an interesting daughter of Wonder Woman. Her real name is Donna of Amazon Island. She hails from Earth 2 and is the daughter of Steppenwolf and Wonder Woman. Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened with this pairing, or how it happened, or what's going on there, as it was never really fully explained, but we do know that it happened, and that the two had a daughter together. Because Fury is the daughter of both of these amazing warriors, much of her power level comes from their prowess, as well as her Amazonian heritage. She is not only strong, durable, swift, and immortal, but is also known for her brilliant mind as well. Amazons really do have it all. Number 4. Bruce Kent. Bruce Kent is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman from the Superman Distant Fires comic. Because everyone loves when Superman and Wonder Woman get together, settle down, and have kids. It's just what people are into. Bruce Kent, being born of both heroes, inherited many of his father's powers, which means he's pretty powerful. He ended up being sent away, however, by Superman when he was younger, which means that he might not have learned as much from his mother and father as some of Wonder Woman's other kids. However, he's still pretty OP, hence why he's on the list. Number 3. Supergirl. Lara is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Superman from the Dark Knight Returns reality of Earth 31. She's John's older sister. She made her first appearance in Dark Knight Strikes Again and was created by Frank Miller. Because she is the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman, there is almost nothing Lara can't do between her Kryptonian and her Amazonian heritage and powers together. She is an amazingly skilled fighter with a strong will and also possesses abilities similar to her father. Number 2. HYPERMAN. HYPERMAN is the son of Wonder Woman and Superman from the reality of Earth 22, the Kingdom Come universe. There, Wonder Woman and Superman would end up together, and once their son was born, asked Batman to be his godfather and also help raise and train him. Unfortunately, the youngster ended up being kidnapped before any of this could take place. Not to worry though, as the three heroes would band together and end up rescuing baby Jonathan Kent, getting him back. However, he would end up immediately disappearing, as while being taken, he made a connection with Hypertime that basically gave him dominion over it. He would slip into Hypertime to be raised by an older version of himself and act as a guardian of time and reality, aka Hypertime. Because of his connection to Hypertime, he would therefore also possess the ability to travel to alternate worlds, dimensions, and through time, which I think is pretty powerful. I feel like if you can do that, you're winning. You're one of the tops. Number 1. Dream. So, okay, this is a really trippy one, and I'm obviously really excited to tell you about it. Technically, the new, or current Dream, if you will, Daniel, is the grandson of Wonder Woman. Sort of. Not really, but sort of. Just follow me here. Remember Hippolyta Trevor, aka Lita, aka Fury, who was once the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve before that origins was retconned out of existence? Daniel was Lita's son, but he came to be so after her origins were retconned. In a weird way, this makes him kind of Wonder Woman's alternate reality grandson. Of course, Lita, who would go on to get married and become known as Lita Hall, lost her child to the original Dream, aka Morpheus, who knew that Daniel was meant to become the new version of him once he passed on, as the Endless never really died, but instead just changed as time passes. Daniel therefore isn't really Daniel even anymore, and Lita is no longer Wonder Woman's daughter, but still, Daniel has acknowledged his connection and relation to Diana, and because he is a member of the Endless, is one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe. So hence why he's the most powerful child of Wonder Woman. Family member of Wonder Woman? I'm gonna count it. I feel like grandsons should count as a form of children. You know, even alternate reality grandsons.
Coming in at number 10, we have Damian Wayne, the son of Batman. Genetically engineered and grown in an artificial womb following a night of passion between Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne, Damian was intended by the villain Ra's al Ghul to be his ultimate successor as the ruler ruler of the League of Shadows. Trained to be an assassin from an incredibly young age, Batman wasn't even aware he had a son until the boy was 10 years old and left in his care by Talia. And while initially the father and son combo had some issues sorting out their issues and Damian's stance on Batman's whole no killing rule, Damian has since become an important member of the Bat family as the 5th Robin and continues to be an essential ally of Batman to this day. Coming in at number 9, we have Shane Johns, the son of Martian Manhunter and Hawkgirl from an alternate future. While attempting to find a way to prevent Lex Luthor from unleashing the Dark Goddess Perpetua, the Justice League found themselves traveling through a 6-dimensional doorway to a future where the forces of good had seemingly finally won their constant battle with the forces of evil. All of the members of the Justice League seemed to have found happiness, especially Hawkgirl and Martian Manhunter, who had an ambitious young son named Shane. Unfortunately, this reality turned out to all be a ruse by the World Forger, but in a weird twist, Shane still decided to ally himself with the real Justice League, and used his incredibly strong psychic abilities to help save the day. That'll do, kid. That'll do. Coming in at number 8, we have Cube, Cyborg's son from a dark possible future. Hailing from a world where a force known as the Darkness has threatened to corrupt all of the Earth's heroes, Cube's real name is George Marvin Stone. The son of Cyborg, Cube is literally a human mother box, connected down at the DNA level to one of the most iconic objects in the entire DC universe. Because of this complete integration with alien technology, Cube is able to perform all of the tech-based powers that his father has, alongside being capable of generating his own teleporting boom tubes whenever he wants. With all of those powers combined, Cube is definitely a cyborg you don't want to mess with. Coming in at number 7, we have Zod, the born-in-a-lab spawn of an evil Superman and Wonder Woman from the world of the Justice Lords. Named after one of Superman's most iconic villains, this Zod was born on a world where Superman turned to the dark side and turned the Justice League into the Justice Lords following the death of their universe's Flash. Unfortunately, following the birth of Zod, the baby was kidnapped by a brainiac from another universe and locked away in the Phantom Zone, which is probably the least ideal place possible to raise a child. With both Kryptonian and Amazonian blood flowing through his veins, Zod was beyond dangerous even if he just remained a little kid. Coming in at number 6, we have Nightwing, the adopted son of Batman and the very first Robin. While not biologically a child of the Justice League, Dick Grayson has been by Batman's side since nearly the very beginning, essentially adopted by Bruce Wayne following the death of his circus performer parents, and becoming the very first Robin, the Boy Wonder. Since then, Dick Grayson has accomplished a lot, helping found the Teen Titans, establishing his own superhero identity as Nightwing, and even briefly taking over the position of Batman on a few occasions where Bruce Wayne was incapable of performing the role. No matter what the future of the DC Universe brings, Nightwing will always be an incredible fan favorite. Coming in at number 5, we have Terry McGinnis, aka the next Batman. Originally appearing in the beloved animated series Batman Beyond, Terry was the sarcastic and wisecracking next-generation Batman in a dystopian future Gotham, led by an elderly and retired Bruce Wayne. However, unlike Nightwing, Terry's connection to Bruce wound up being more than just as an adoptive father, as it was eventually revealed that Bruce Wayne is biologically Terry's father, as Terry's actual dad had his genetics replaced by those of Bruce Wayne, essentially making the two heroes related. Even without this connection though, Terry McGinnis stood out as a worthy successor to Batman, developing his own iconic rogues gallery and even being able to defeat villains that the original Batman never could, such as the Joker. Coming in at number 4, we have Hunter Prince, the potential future son of Wonder Woman. In the same dark future that Cyborg's son Cube hailed from, Wonder Woman was one of the first heroes to be infected by the darkness, giving birth to a son that could become an even more powerful vessel for the villain. Wonder Woman gave the boy up to Superman and Lois Lane, hoping that they would be able to prevent her son from going to the dark side, but unfortunately, Hunter believed his mother was giving him up because he was male, as was Amazonian custom. Growing up angry at the previous generation that had failed him, Hunter possessed all of the strengths of Wonder Woman, including her lasso of truth and bracelets of submission, making him a truly powerful and angry enemy. Coming in at number 3, we have 2 for the price of 1 with the Tornado Twins, the potential villainous children of the Flash. Born in the 30th century when Barry Allen had briefly retired there with Iris West, these versions of the twins grew up without a father, as Barry was believed to be dead and never returned to that timeline following the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Filling the place of Barry in his absence was unfortunately the Reverse Flash, a villain dead set on ruining Barry's life and creations in any way possible, and turning Barry's twin children into supervillains was right up his evil alley. Having since become members of the Legion of Zoom, a collective of speed-based villains, Dawn and Dawn Allen have the full power of the Speed Force at their disposal, making them incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. Coming in at number 2, we have HYPERMAN, a distant future version of the potential son of the Man of Steel. In the same reality where the storyline Kingdom Come took place, the young son of this reality Superman, Jonathan Kent, was kidnapped by the villain known as Gog and encased first in a prison of kryptonite and then trapped within the weird branch of reality known as Hypertime. Luckily, someone was there to watch over the infant, his own future self, a hero known as HYPERMAN that was destined to become even greater than Superman. The baby was eventually able to be saved through the joint efforts of the Kingdom Come universe and the main DC universe's heroes, and the Kingdom Come parents of this child are now determined to make sure that HYPERMAN's bright future becomes a reality. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have Jon Kent, the true son of Superman. Half Kryptonian and half human, Jon Kent was the most recent hero to take up the mantle of Superboy, using everything he'd learned from his parents, Clark Kent and Lois Lane, to be an inspiring force for the people of Earth. Aging quicker than usual due to weird time travel and reality-hopping hijinks, Jon Kent has since become the new Superman, taking over his father's position as the defender of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, and trying to find his own place in the growing DC Omniverse. And to make things even more interesting, Batman has even theorized after examining Jon's DNA that the unique combination of human and Kryptonian genetics in his blood might mean that he could surpass even his own father when it comes to power once he's fully grown. All of this is to say that Jon Kent is, in my opinion, the most powerful son of the Justice League.